Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope on this recorded edition on the April 28th, Tuesday. I got my man Rich Ferris from Cumulus 104.5 The Zone, the Titans flagship radio, backstage. Going to ask him about the Tennessee Titans draft here. So let's bring him up right now. Got a great crowd tonight here. Hey, Rich, how you doing, man?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Good, brother. Good. That's a nice haircut you got there. Let's see. What is your initial thoughts on Carnell Tate being drafted with the fourth pick? Let's start there, brother.
I was a little surprised. I mean, I thought that they would have loved to have gotten Jeremiah Love there, but obviously the
Yeah.
Cardinals took him with the third overall pick, and I've heard some rumors that that was a little bit of a split decision over there, but can't
Yeah.
say for sure if that's what was going on. It does seem weird that they took him there with their running back situation, but
Yeah.
maybe their owner or somebody that that had a little bit more authority said let's go get that person. And so the next thought was with David Bailey Jr. off the board. I was thinking,
Yeah.
well, it could be Arvell Reese, it could be Ruben Bain Jr. there. I even thought maybe Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs was another one that I knew they were interested in. So
Yeah.
it was definitely a little surprise. I knew Carnell Tate was, there was some interest there. I know they had a lot of interest in Jordan Tyson too. So I thought if they did go wide receiver, maybe they go him instead of Carnell. But
Yeah.
obviously they took Carnell, and I'm excited for him. I think that's a good fit here. And I
Yeah.
think Cam Ward having a target that he can grow with is very crucial for his game. And it was a big need for the Titans there.
Yeah. It was a need. It was a need, folks. And was you let that initially, man? I mean, I replayed it. We did the program here, and I mean, the air was let out of the room when Carnell Tate was
Oh
drafted.
yeah,
Over the- it was like somebody passed gas in the elevator. It was like, oh my god!
yeah.
And
Well,
really, look, but
it
they
was
made
definitely
up.
that with
Go ahead, Rich.
when at Nissan Stadium for the Titans draft party, being there. When the Cardinals took Love at 3, everybody was like, it was like that reaction. Everybody was like, oh, because everybody
I
wanted
was
that
a
pick.
little let down too. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
same here. And I've been talking about it since December of Jeremiah
Yeah,
Love being a Titan. So, despite them having Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears,
yeah,
I thought Jeremiah Love might be the most talented, if not the top person in the draft this year.
yeah, yeah. I really wanted one of those linemen. I know Reese was a little bit of a project, but man, his talent level, he's only 20. And him working with Salif, do you think that Salif really wanted him, but maybe the general manager wanted Tate? Do you think there's a split in the Titans war room? Do you have any thoughts about that or any
No,
evidence?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
think that they were looking at their board and decided that Carnell Tate was their. I think he was their top guy on the board that was available at the time. I
That's
don't think
awesome.
Arvell Reese necessarily was the perfect fit on the defense, and I think Sonny Styles was, probably their next on their board over Arvell Reese and even Ruben Bain.
Yeah.
But I don't think there was any split decision. I think Dave Ziegler, their assistant general manager, said today that
Yeah.
everybody was unanimous on Carnell Tate there. But I do think Love was their number one on there, and maybe even David Bailey number two. But obviously those two were off the board.
Yeah, yeah, and it's unfortunate that like my man Kevin Carroll, Coach Kevin Carroll said, it's always the pick just before them.
Yeah.
It's not unless
Yep.
they pick number one. I mean, who was was it Joe Alt? Remember Joe Alt a few years ago?
Yeah.
The pick before, so I could strangle John Harbaugh. You know?
Yeah. And that did not make any sense to me. He needed a right tackle, but took a left tackle,
Yeah,
and the Titans needed a left tackle, ended up having to take a right tackle
yeah,
because of that pick. It just seemed very backwards there. I think they should have taken J.C. Latham. I
yeah,
think he would have fit John Harbaugh there for the Chargers and ultimately be their right tackle. But uh,
yeah.
you know
They just
they
love
they
all
took
things.
Lath they took they took the other guy, and that's just how it goes sometimes.
That's the way love goes. The way
Hmm.
Janet Jackson's song goes.
Yeah.
do you do you think maybe they should have took a tackle there? I mean, if you look at Dan Morgan, he's
No.
rated as one of the lower third tackles there. I know that would have been more of a, as far as prospect ranking, if you would have took maybe one of the right tackles there. Maybe, they might have had a little pushback there. But hey, man, I want to get that line covered more than I want to get skill players. We saw that in the last two Super Bowls. You got that line of scrimmage, you're doing good. What are your
Yeah, I
thoughts
mean,
on taking
I,
a lineman at 4?
I don't think that that's not with this roster. No, I don't think. I think there's the multiple factors that play into that. I think one is you are paying Dan Moore a lot of money to be your starting left tackle. You have a lot of equity in draft with J.C. Latham as your right tackle.
Yeah,
You have a first round pick as your left guard, who I think's been playing really well. With Peter Skoronski, I think he's fine.
yeah,
Center and right guard was the biggest need on the offensive line, in my opinion,
yeah,
which they addressed later in the draft
yeah.
and got some guys in free agency. But to go back to your point is, I also think scheme has a lot to do, scheme and fit and having an identity. I think the Titans are actually going to have an identity this
Yeah.
year where they haven't in 2 years plus, because of the previous coaching just didn't seem to have an identity and didn't seem to have really anything that they were doing well. Where I think this coaching staff, along with Brian Daboll being the OC,
Yeah.
I think has a plan in place of what they want to do. So I want to give Dan Moore and J.C. Latham, they're starting two tackles right now, a chance in this offense to prove that, hey, we are talented as what everybody invested in us in, and that given this new coaching staff that we actually have a identity and a plan in place
Yeah.
to be successful.
Yeah. And I love Latham. I was thinking
Yeah,
maybe put more inside and put Latham at left, possibly do something like that, and the new guy at right tackle. But Latham, man, his run blocking.
yeah,
Uh,
he's always been great at that.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I think he's been pretty solid since he's been here, and
Yeah.
I think him being at right tackle last year, he was just fine. They got the left guard solidified, and they'll probably give him a contract extension if they haven't already.
Next
Um,
year, Sonorski, I love him. They've got
Actually,
to.
they may have given him a
Oh,
contract
have they?
extension. I think
Okay.
I know or maybe they just picked up his 5th year option. I know there was something maybe last week before the draft that they solidified that with him.
He's a bright spot. I love that guy. Yeah, he. Last I checked, he's 5th amongst guards in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. I pay that fee every year to get that site and check in on these Titans to see how good or bad they really are. So, do you think that they should have traded up in the first round for Kendrick Falk? Do you think that may have been a reach, or you think that was a really good move? What's your thoughts about that?
I think it was a good move. I mean, it just shows like what we were just discussing about,
Yeah.
with Love being there and then gone before you could take him. So
Okay.
they liked a guy that fit. I don't think there's a more scheme fit player than Keldrick Falk, and they went
Yeah.
up and got the player that fit their defense the most out of this entire draft. Some
Okay.
people had him as high as the 14th best player in the draft,
Yeah.
and for them to take him at 31, I think is good value. And I think what was great about this Titans draft that I've been thinking about
Yeah.
since is I don't. It's been a while since they've had a draft where I'm like, they took guys that fit exactly what they want to do, and
Yeah.
they addressed every need that they had in some kind of capacity. It's been a while since I could say
Yeah.
that solid of a draft in that kind of aspect. It's been a while since that's happened.
It's been a while. That's right, man. Now, I was just playing devil's advocate there. That being said, I thought he was going to go 15 to Tampa. And, of course,
Hmm.
our guy, Reuben Bain, that may have been the steal of the draft. I think that short arm thing's overstated, and we're going to find out come September but I thought he was going to be off the board, and Falk was go 15 to Tampa, and of course Tampa did need an edge rusher. They went Reuben Bain Jr., so I thought that was a lot of value there.
I think Tampa, I haven't really dove into the entire draft and looked at all the teams. There's a few teams I thought did really well just from my first look at. And it seemed like Tampa definitely was in the right place in the draft where they could just pick up guys that were falling or were right there before anybody else could take them.
That could be the steal of the draft, man. I mean, him.
I like Reuben Bain Jr. a lot. I've talked about him on here. I liked him for the Titans. I think there were just some other players that kind of jumped ahead of him, and I think if the Cardinals or Jets would have took different players, that he may be a Titan, or if there was a trade back scenario for the Titans, they could have picked him up. But I think Reuben Bain is going to be really good, and as long as the legal stuff off the field pans out for him.
Yeah. Do you were there any reports that they had trade offers at for?
Their phones are ringing. I don't know for sure of what. Okay. I don't think anything's been said about that there has been any official offers for four. Okay. I know that Kansas City was looking to move up, in which they did, and I think they were after Carnell Tate as well. I did read something about them wanting to get up to get him, and was trying to make calls to jump up ahead. I don't know if they knew the Titans were interested or not, but they even there was another team too that said once Tate was off the board, we switched our plans there, and that might have been the Saints or somebody there that was right behind the Titans.
And you mentioned Jordan Tyson earlier. Now, Titans had a D on my grade list when they took Carnell Tate initially, but then that D turned into like a C plus B minus once they made those other two moves. Then looking at Carnell Tate, but if they would have took Jordan Tyson, this guy's played 34 games in 4 years. He's hurt every single year. That would have been unbelievable. I'm so glad they took Tate over Jordan Tyson, man. What's your thoughts about that guy?
The injuries was definitely a concern, and I think that's why Tate ended up being the receiver they went with. I know they like both, but I think Tate just had more upside because of the injury history and maybe some character stuff. I don't know. They looked at majority of the players that they took, if not all, the Titans definitely looked at high character. And you can look at across the board. A lot of these guys are team captains or high character guys that do charity work and things like that. So there's a lot of little nuances that a lot of people don't realize that NFL teams base their board off of, and that could be one for the Titans this year.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I really do like what Salif is really cooking up here.
And I will say, like, as far as wide receivers goes in the draft, I mean, Arizona State and Ohio State have both been just putting out wide receivers left and right here. I mean, you can go back 5-6 years and just see the hit rate, especially for Ohio State since Brian Hartline's been their wide receiver coach. I think that's been a big plus and something that Titans fans should appreciate is having a high-level coach in the collegiate level where Carnell Tate's going to come on board and be pretty ready to be a pro.
Yeah, and there was a lot of pushback. Well, he wasn't the best on his own team. I don't think.
Well, it's hard to beat.
Jeremiah Love or Smith, right?
Jeremiah Smith is an incredible. If he would be probably the first overall pick in this year's draft, and he will be probably next year. So, everybody wants to knock him for being a 2, but you have one of the best receivers in college in a long time to be number 1. So I wouldn't hate to be in the next best guy next to him.
That's like saying Thurman Thomas was the number 2 running back on his team. Well, the number 2 running back on Thurman Thomas' team was Barry Sanders, the number 1 guy. That's going back to the older audiences there.
I mean,
1989, brother. So, Anthony Hill Jr., what's your thoughts? I was pretty stoked about that pick, the moving up in the second round, getting the speedy linebacker from Texas.
Yeah, I think again they knew the exact scheme and fit
Yeah.
guys that they had in this draft. They knew that they may have to go up and get some of these players, and he was one of them. I think for this defense is just going to be so good because they've already signed a lot of guys in free agencies that were
Yeah.
familiar with this system or fit this system, and now they're drafting guys to be the future that fit this system. So props to their draft, their crew that did this draft, GM, head coach, all their scouts. I mean, it's like I said, it's been a while since I've seen the Titans get guys that you knew would be a perfect fit for what they're trying to do,
Yeah.
and they went and got them. And
And
Anthony
that's what
Hill is going to be great.
yeah.
I was looking, there was probably like 3 or 4 linebackers that I was like, I really hope they get this person because they fit the Titans perfectly, and he was one of the 4.
Yeah,
Uh,
Anthony Hill, yeah.
and they obviously had him rated as their top linebacker, off the ball linebacker, and went and got him.
Yeah. Yeah. Something, you make a good point, man. I mean, if you really think about how those free agency, John, was it Myers Franklin
Yeah,
and who else did they add on?
they got Jermaine Johnson. They got
Yeah,
Solomon
that's a new
Thomas.
guy.
I mean, they added like a lot of defensive players on here. That
Delonte Taylor,
Yeah,
you
Lante
know?
Taylor. They signed 3 corners, so I mean,
Okay.
they have a lot of defensive players in free agency. So getting these young guys that fit what they're trying to do too to come in and grow, um, I'm really excited about it.
So, yeah, what numbers are you thinking here as far as new players? 5, 6 new players on defense? I mean, that's a lot, all right?
Yeah,
It's
but you
gonna
got
be
to think
smart.
half of them,
Yeah.
Salah's either is probably coached or has been a part of whatever system that he runs.
Yeah.
So these guys are already know what to do here and
Yeah.
fit.
Yeah. They're going to be ready made. So, what grade would you give the Titans? What would you give to their offseason, man?
For the offseason, look at again going to where they know what they needed and went and got them. So I mean that I hate doing grades sometimes because especially for a draft because I feel like you got to let that play out.
Yeah.
But this what they're doing is an incredible transformation from the
Yeah.
last coaching staff to this coaching staff. But I feel super confident in it, and I feel like they done everything possible to make this a good team this coming year, and I think they may surprise some people. I mean, I think it's probably they could probably double their win column this year at minimum.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned this other need. They did draft a center. Do
Yeah,
you think this guy's got a shot to, and I've got his name here. I had to look it up. I accidentally clicked
yeah.
off.
Pat Coogan. I mean, he just
Yeah.
won a national championship with Indiana. He was a
Yeah.
team captain. He was the Rose Bowl MVP. There's only
Sixth round
been
pick.
one
Yeah.
other offensive lineman to be that, and that was a long time ago. It was
Okay.
either the 50s or 70s or something like that. I mean, to be a center and be a
Yeah.
Rose Bowl MVP in this day and age is incredible. So I think he's very well got a chance to be that a
Okay.
starter and be one for a long time. Again,
Yeah. He
he's
would
another
be.
person that just fits exactly what they want to do and
Yeah.
has the mentality that they're looking for. Um, Several of these guys have been team captains, and he's one of them.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at what the scheme is and what they're trying to do, his size and his capabilities fit perfectly.
Yeah. And they got this Austin. Is it Scottman? Scott
Austin Schlottman,
Schlotman.
yeah,
Is that what you said?
yeah, he's a guy that's familiar with the system that either played for Brian Dayball
With New York. Yeah.
or Salah somewhere down the line, as well as Cordell Volson, who
Dayball.
they also signed. So they'll be in the mix to compete. And if I would say if you look at the roster, that probably is the one glaring kind of weak spot that you're not sure
Yeah.
about is at center and right guard.
Yeah.
But they've got 4 guys there to compete, and hopefully works out for them.
That'll be something interesting to follow during the preseason. those spots there for the. That's the only real glaring, like you said, weakness that I see as well. Like I said, man, after seeing those last two picks there, and you compare with their defensive players they've added on offense, they're going to be competitive, man. The Athletic has them ranked as the worst team in the league after the offseason. They have nowhere to go but up, man. And that they should use that as a chip,
Well, that is interesting they ranked them in the last, but okay, that's fine. You can have your rankings. I wouldn't have ranked them that, and that's not even trying to be a Titans homer of any kind.
Right,
It's just
right.
feels like that they've done a lot of upgrades to what they did have, and don't think that they're going to be the worst team in the league this year.
No. I think they would be favored over Miami. I think that although Jets had a pretty good draft, Jets pretty weak at quarterback there. And obviously a lot's going to be on how well Cam Ward plays. I think the defense will be fine. If he takes that next step, man, it's going to be huge. And I know it's just April, but that's the $64,000 question. Does he take that next big step as a quarterback? Yeah. How well does he, fit into Dayball's system? Do you have anything else you need to add?
I think the sky's the limit for this team. I think they're going to get better. So I'm excited to see what Robert Saleh does with a coach that actually has an idea of what he wants to do and what he has a plan in place, and he's going for it. And I think it's going to be way better of a product. I also think there's just good energy around the team right now. They just did the rebrand. The uniforms look nice. I was kind of skeptical of what that was going to look like, and I think they really did a good job of that. It's very simple, but it's clean, and I think there's just a lot of good energy around the team at the moment.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait to see him play, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'd like to see what Cam Ward can do in year two with a coach like Brian Daboll and a scheme and an identity that they're trying to do.
And that's his words, not mine. He says, this guy's going to challenge me, Yeah. He's going to push me. And we saw, I don't know if you've seen Daboll in this little Hard Knocks thing where he's in the whiteboard or whatever you want to, and he's challenging the quarterbacks. Tell me about this play again. What did we talk about earlier? And you got guys like this was during the draft process when he's with the Giants. Guys like Jaden Daniels and of course Cam Ward. They were like pop, 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 pop. There's gonna be a lot more of that. I like Daboll's energy. Sometimes he gets a little too energetic, but the fact that he's the coordinator here, he's really going to be able to flourish here. And the energy between him and Saleh, I don't see how they can go in there half-stepping, be honest with you. That's too many coaches.
I think that they're both going to bring some energy to those guys, and they're not going to let them slack up.
That's a double shot espresso, if you ask me. You got Saleh.
And they just have such a veteran staff too that the previous coaching staff did not. A lot of them were first year in their role kind of guys, and they got 3-4 former head coaches on this staff. Including Gus Bradley, who's a defensive coordinator. That's a lot. There's a lot of experience on this staff. There's five. There's five guys. They're all three of their coordinators are former head coaches of some, and they're obviously their head coach has been a head coach. So
it's awesome experience. It's going to be fun. Even if they only win 7 games, that doesn't mean that they're not going to be in 14 games that come down to the fourth quarter. You know what?
Yeah, and like the Patriots had this year, they're going to have a weaker opponent schedule using the opponents from last year and the teams from last year.
Yeah. Where
some would say the Patriots got a little lucky on getting that kind of schedule. Well, they should have a similar schedule to that because they were one of the worst teams. And and even if a 7-8 win season this year, that's double what they've had the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So that's an improvement.
That's the way I look at it. And like I said, it keeps the games interesting where they're not getting blown out every single week. Give them another year, build some more depth there. So it is a lot to look up to regardless of what the critics say. And I'm sure Saleh, if I'm Saleh, I put all this stuff on the billboard here. I'm putting it in the locker
Definitely.
room, man. So,
Yeah.
what are you guys going to be talking about this week on Big Tan and Rich coming up?
We'll probably talk a little bit about the draft. Not really sure. We don't, as draft and maybe some shows that we're catching up with, and yeah, it might be one of those shows that we just kind of get on there and just go.
Rich Ferris from Cumulus Radio 104.5 The Zone. Let's have another round of applause. Appreciate you, brother. I'm going to try to clip this and we'll either play it tonight or tomorrow or maybe both for that matter. A lot of people want to know what you got to say. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, man.
Have a good one. All righty then, everybody. So I'll be back here on Thursday live with the Mad New Yorker. We're going to go over the Titans draft with him as well. But the two New York teams draft, I think they both had really good drafts. I'll talk about that Thursday and, of course, on Monday's program. But also that Sean McVay clip. We'll talk about that as well. I think him and Les Snead are button heads. Got a good suggestion for McVay. He's coming up on that 10-year mark. Okay, he's going up on that pivotal 10-year mark. Maybe he wants to possibly finish out his contract, take a year off, and do something else. That's something food for thought there. And, of course, maybe we'll touch on a little bit of the playoffs as well. So have a good night, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you like the show, please share the show and subscribe to the Real Sports Scope YouTube channel. I want to thank again all my Uber riders who are really coming through and subscribing to the channel.